Ryan said, and I quote, "You cannot be racist if you're black in the United States." Now he just said, yes, of course, hypothetically you can.
It's logically possible, but there's no mechanism right now that
So
could
then
that is
you
enacting
were-
it, or that
You
could
were
enact it.
wrong when you said that you can't be racist.
Okay.
It doesn't work because of the fact you're talking before the party switch. The Democratic Party was the Republican Party of that time. There was a switch. Now the current Republican Party.
Okay, hold on. I have a question to
Please.
this. I have a question to this. Can either of you, Ryan or Casey, can you explain to me why the Democrats, their entire history, have always been a collectivist party and focused more on writing legislation for people based on groups than being an individualist party, going back to Abraham Lincoln, where he abolished slavery, not for black people, but for everybody. And every bit of legislation the Republican Party has ever written has been individualist. They have not written one piece of legislation based on race. Can you please explain that to me, and then explain how there was some kind of party switch?
I mean, first of all, didn't Abe Lincoln specifically say that if he could save the Union without freeing a single slave, he would?
That has no idea. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying. I'm talking about the
I think it's pretty
legislation.
relevant to the point you're trying to make, right?
No, it's not. It has nothing to do.
You're like painting him as like you're painting like the Republicans.
I'm not bringing up your bitch-ass quotes. Answer the fucking question.
Whoa, settle
I mean, I don't believe your analysis.
I mean, if you look at the Abe Lincoln's history,
I don't care about
he
your
did
what
not
you
see black
think
people
of my
as possible.
analysis. I'm asking a question. Can you answer it? I'm so tired of dumbass people making this stupid fucking claim. Back your shit up.
The party's definitely switched.
Yes, and I was talking about Abraham Lincoln, his ideas about black people.
He'll never be able to prove it wasn't.
How he did not see them as actual people. He was a fan of wanting to send them to Liberia, which was a popular idea during that time.
What's wrong with that?
Do you even know what Liberia is?
Yeah, it was the American colony we had during the time over in Africa. What's wrong
Where
with sending
people
them
wanted
there?
to go there, and we gave them that country. That's what happened.
And they became their own slave owners, and they were very happy with it, and they wanted more black people to go over there so they can maintain their elite status.
Yes,
Frederick
sir. That's
Douglass
right.
is
That's very
descendant
true.
For,
Yeah.
like, the dictators there for not too long ago until the country hit the shitter, and now it's chaos.
But listen, but listen, I don't buy this party switch argument, but let's concede it for a second, just for the sake of argument, and say we concede it. That's still not going to get to the heart of my criticism, because let's use another analogy. Let's say that over the next 5 years, the organization known as the KKK has an about face. And all of a sudden they start advocating for Jewish people and black people. And 30 years from now, they're very effective advocates. Could there not still be a claim that that's great that you've switched, but still that name, that imagery, the hoods, the name, the KKK is still offensive based on what it historically meant? If you say yes, certainly, why couldn't they just change their name? Then why couldn't the Democrats just change their name? They are the party. That is the name. That is the symbolism that existed when they created the KKK. If we're really about getting rid of offensive symbolism of the past, because now we're looking at things through a different lens, why not rip down everything that says Democrat? They could say we switched, but still, that name is the name that's associated with the foundation of the KKK. So why not just switch? Why not call?
I'll tell you what, if the KKK over the next 100 years slowly evolves into a completely different and entirely like anti-racist organization, like over a long period of time, I'm not opposed to that. Right? That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about, if the KKK switched tomorrow, obviously we wouldn't take that seriously, right? But like the Democratic Party didn't switch overnight. We're talking about a long history of evolving political ideology.
But Ryan, I don't believe you because what you would say is, why don't you just change the name? Change the name. Why would you still call yourself the KKK? Change the fucking name. We're glad that you switched. We're still hesitant to believe you, but great. We'll take you as an ally, but change the fucking name. Right?
Again, this is something that's happening over like 150 years minimum.
You don't have a good answer. Like it's all about symbolism.
I think it is a good answer to talk about the time scale that we're looking at.
It's not. Here's another. What if we definitively?
It's not bullshit, lower class. You can't follow it. That's
now
fine.
we want to look at now we want to look at time scales. Now,
right.
Also, I've always wanted to look at time scales. Don't gaslight me, Sarah.
Real quick, Ryan. What if 30 years from now we're able to definitively prove that Martin Luther King was abusive to women? Should we tear down statues of him?
He might have been.
I mean,
he said he was.
Yeah.
You don't think I can say that like he might have been misogynist in some ways, and that like so
tear it down?
Tear it down.
MLK? No more
I'm not
MLK
saying that either.
Boulevard? Why not?
Does that?
It's offensive to women.
There's
Sarah's
like an
infuriated.
MLK. There's an MLK.
Because you're not putting up
Boulevard
MLK.
in
Hang on.
every city.
You're not putting up
There's an
MLK
MLK
Boulevard to
every
say
city.
women can't go here.
Yet that symbolism still exists.
And what does every MLK Boulevard have in common?
See,
Crime.
the reason-
You can't drive there.
I wasn't gonna
so
say
heated,
it.
but the reason I get so heated is because cushion kids like these two right here, they spout misinformation, disinformation, all this, and then literally everything they believe stands on a bunch of piss and lies, and there's nothing
Yeah,
else.
dude.
Okay, but
Agreed,
you haven't
like-
demonstrated that at all, and you've just like.
You're the one saying there's a party switch. I said prove it, and you go, well, I don't
I
want
posted a
to.
history.
Go ahead.
By the way, I posted a History.com article about
Zoom.
how the party of Lincoln won over the
Still haven't
170.
answered my
I
question.
literally posted a source
You
from
still haven't
History.com,
answered my
dumbass.
question. You still haven't answered my
Zoom
question.
Says,
Oh.
shut up, both of you. With the Big Five, the phenomenon you're referring to is often called the party realignment or Southern realignment.
It's incredibly well documented. Incredibly well documented.
Still haven't answered my
Yeah.
question.
Fuck
Well
your question.
documented. Who
Exactly.
cares about that shit,
Exactly.
dude?
And Rude Mud Crab says America was once okay with slaves. Country rebrand, please.
This is exactly the logic they're trying to apply, but let me offer an alternative, right? Let's contextualize our history by teaching things like critical race theory, which acknowledge the racist past of the United States and how it was enshrined into our laws and how race was constructed through our laws, right?
Yes,
and
keep it alive.
if we contextualize this history of the
Keep it alive.
Democratic Party as well,
APR on
perfectly comfortable
racism, guys. We need to keep it alive. We need
I
to
know,
keep it
see,
alive.
guys,
We're
It's called,
relevant.
it's called acknowledging its impacts today, lower class.
Yeah,
I
no, you're
think there's
you
a-
just
and I
want to
can
stay
tell you-
relevant. That's it.
Real quick,
You
if
want
I
your
can.
emotions to have some grounding in society. Nothing else.
I'll
Lower
wait.
class.
Rob.
Wait.
Wrong.
Listen. What you guys are refusing to acknowledge is there was a party switch, and now there's another one. Did you know
Right.
that they've switched back? And let me explain why. Did you know in California that there's a proposition called Proposition 209? And what that says is that you're not allowed to discriminate against or give preferential treatment to any individual or group based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. Who do you think's now against that? Do you think it's the Republicans that say you can't discriminate against race? Or do you think it's the Democrats that are trying to repeal that? Take a guess.
What's the like, what are they trying to do here? What's the goal?
They want to give preferential treatment to people of color. So they're
Oh,
suggesting.
so it's okay. I see. Yeah.
So they're suggesting repealing a law that says that you can't discriminate or give preferential treatment to people in hiring practice based on race, sex. Now they're saying it's okay to discriminate against white people. It's okay to discriminate
Damn.
against men. So again, tell me about the party switch. Now the Democrats are officially, in California at least, the party of saying, no, we should be allowed to discriminate based on race, sex, color, etc.
Right.
Okay,
They
so
also
I
run
think
on-
that's a very dishonest framing of what
It's
we're talking about, which
dishonest,
is
sure.
basically a form of
All the
like
time.
quote unquote
It's
affirmative
always
action or like
dishonest.
DEI stuff,
Go,
right?
Brian. Fucking
But
go.
Can I?
But you
I
can
mean,
be,
like-
you know, you can be a
Well, what do
certain
you think-
politician and say vote for me.
I don't
based
think
on
white
my
people are
skin
being
color.
discriminated against by any of these policies, and I
And
think
that's
that
never
what's happening is probably that
On the
people
right.
are trying to make cases that white men in particular are oppressed because this is the entire like manosphere narrative or like the whole right wing narrative.
Oh
that
my
feeds into
God,
manosphere
dude.
stuff.
No,
But
wait a second.
This,
Can you
this is a
define?
constructed
Brain
narrative,
rot.
and what this
Dude,
is
it's
being
so
used.
sad how rotted your brain is, Brian.
Okay, that's
Like, you're
adorable.
fighting
So
for an
this kind of
overcorrect
narrative is being
drive.
used so that they can push back against actual anti-racist policies, right? And so if laws need to be rewritten to actually make sure that we do have a fair system, I think that's okay.
No, real
Ryan,
quick.
are we
No,
not
no,
making a fair
please,
system?
please.
Ruin it for the rest
One
of
at a
us.
time,
It's funny,
ladies.
you said that was being rewritten to get rid of anti-racist policies, but you've already defined that you can't be racist against white people. And so when I say that they're trying to repeal a law that says you can't discriminate or prefer people based on race, for example, you said, I don't think that would be discriminatory against white people. And so seeing as how by definition that would mean that they would be allowed to say, we won't hire you if you're white, can you define the term discrimination?
So I don't agree that the goal of this initiative is to make it so you can discriminate against people just for being white. And I don't think that would like this specifically. If this amendment specifically prohibits discrimination based on race, it would also apply to
What does discrimination
No,
mean?
no.
You didn't answer
That's the question. What's it mean? Yeah.
discrimination.
Yeah.
Like I think we're all using it the same way. I don't think there's disagreement about using
Well,
the
I
words.
don't know that we are,
Answer the question.
because if you say that it's legal for a company to not hire someone because they are white, because for
But I'm
good
not saying
reasons-
that.
Okay, but that's clearly why they want to repeal this. They want to repeal it because they want to give preferential
You say that's
treatment.
clear. That's not clear to me.
Okay, then what? Give me the possible explanation of why they wanted to repeal it.
I think what happens is there's a lot of bad faith lawsuits that imply things like that that are not actually happening. Yeah.
But wait a minute.
But I mean,
So
again, I'd have to look at like the nuances around this one in particular.
If fucking David Duke came out, right, and said we should repeal this, you should be allowed to discriminate or give preferential treatment based on race, you would be like, this is appalling. But when the Democrats do it, you're like, oh, it must be for good reason.
Well, I mean, I would want to know like what the replacement is, like, because like let's look at like Trump's like repeal and replace, right? When he says that, he's not actually replacing anything; he just means repeal. Like, and so if they're just repealing it and there's nothing else being paired with it, then I'd be against that.
How about
But
this?
I don't think that's
Hypothetically, do you think that a company should be allowed to say, I'm hiring this person because they're black, or we don't want any more white people, so we're not accepting white applicants? Do you think a company should be allowed to do that?
Oh, not alone. I don't think so.
Yeah, not exactly, not alone.
So
yeah.
would it be discriminatory? So hiring quotas, for example, would be discriminatory.
Yeah, which is why they're super uncommon in the United States.
Okay, just I'm not going to get into all the details that clearly happens, but Harvard, for example.
Okay,
Well, why don't you?
I think it works in the way of like you have more incentives if you have the minority operating, which I think that should even more so be just as wrong because like yeah, but anyway,
Isn't it that it always is a reaction because these things are hard to quantify to the fact that white people do hire other races less, and particularly black people. It's a real thing. Do we agree?
No.
Yes.
See,
I
in fact,
think
go.
it depends on
DEI
where
is-
you. I think it also depends on your like where you're located too, and then like you
In
have
general.
yeah.
In general, you know, you take
been
a
studies
place and
done.
you call with a black name and you call with a white name. Don't the white
Can you-
people get the
done.
job
Can
more?
you provide the
Joe.
information to show that all of the black people that are applying to these jobs are as qualified in merit to the people that they're actually hiring?
I already throw shit out when you said all because I don't even.
No, there's been
about it.
studies
Exactly.
done where they
So
had no names listed and they
That
still
wouldn't make a
ran
claim
through the
with all.
same hiring process
Yeah.
and they still hired the same color of people based with no name and no gender given.
Really,
So
because
that's a bunch of bullshit. You can't
I
be like,
don't-
oh, because my name is DeQuanda, I didn't get the job. That if they're not looking at fucking names, it's not a race thing. It's just
But
the way
I
shit
don't understand.
goes. And
Yeah,
you
here's
can't
the
just
thing,
sit
Joe.
there
they're
and be like
doing
racism,
studies
racism.
now. They're doing studies now, and they've always done them. And some come out recently. I was just discussing them with someone. I'm sure we'll be asked to pull them up soon, or I'll be asked to pull them up soon. Where they redid the same shit with black names. I just looked up the percentage. The shit is still going on in big numbers now. So I would disagree.
Well,
I'd say it's
quite
occurring.
honestly,
And the
hold on,
fact that let me
hold
finish.
on,
Let me
quite hon-
finish.
Well, let me.
And
let
the
me-
fact that you don't know this is great evidence that there should be critical race theory in the classroom.
No, there shouldn't be.
You guys are woefully ignorant.
most
And I can
Fighting
continue.
Joe.
for and overcorrections.
Joe,
right.
most corporations actually start with a keyword search. They have automation systems built in place that feed through the resumes, and then the top so many percent pop up, and then from there they dig in and filter even more. Right. So they're not even looking. These people aren't even looking at the resumes before they.
So
like,
you say
filter
that
out.
to say that it is not happening. That
If I
this
may,
is this
if
is
I
not
may.
Go
happening.
ahead, Rob.
If I may,
Right. I think that was evidence, Sarah. I'd like you to answer that. Was that to say
What
that?
I'm saying is probably those people, their resumes aren't even making it because they can't even
Okay,
put
could you answer
together
my
a
question
resume
then?
with a keyword search.
Well, I
Is
mean,
it
with a lot of-
happening?
with a
Is
lot
it
of these
happening?
studies-
Have blacks, have white people historically, and I dare say still going on. And all throughout history, white people say this is not happening.
We
Do you,
get it,
Sarah,
man. We
agree
get it.
that
You got a
white
case of the
people
SADS. You're
still
a victim.
hire black people more? And some cracker always got to step up and
There we
say that,
go.
right?
There we
When a
go.
black
Go to business
motherfucker
and hire
say
black
this.
people. Who
If
gives
I
a
may,
fuck?
You
please,
cats-
please,
Listen,
if I may,
Listen, here. No, let's stay
Go
with the
ahead, Joe.
arguments,
Get it
please.
off. Get it
I
off
don't
your
want to
chest,
trick
man.
you.
Go ahead.
Right on. I don't want to trick. I want to stick with the arguments. The way you cats were talking about earlier about the statues and your argument was
I
like
wanted
it's
to
a thing
reference
of
your
the past.
studies. I wanted to reference your
Wait,
studies.
I thought you were
Before
going to
you
listen
move
to
on-
me.
Before you move on to
You
another
weren't gonna
argument,
listen
I would
to
like
me.
to talk to the argument you just made, right? So I
What?
don't know about the most recent studies. Can you tell me what the most recent
I
study you're
wasn't talking about
referencing is?
studies. I had a question. Please don't do what you want to do.
Please
and
shut
forsake
up.
what I
You
wanted.
brought up a point
Is it
that I would
going
like
on?
to address. You brought up a point that I would like
Is
to
it
address.
going on? We can
You
go over the
said-
studies.
you
Is it
said
going
that
on?
there
I'm more
were
interested
studies-
in that than
you
what
said
you're
that there were
interested in.
studies that showed that if
I
you had
did.
black sounding
Okay,
names,
okay.
that would
I
be.
did.
You said that. So I'm
Yes,
asking
I
you. You
did.
said there were more recent studies that they redid that again. I'm asking you when
Yes.
those recent studies were.
And I'm telling you, I don't feel like stopping my shit to look them up for you because
That's right.
I think
So
I-
then
I'm
if you
more-
can-
wait,
you can-
wait,
if you
wait.
can mute him,
I'm-
then I'll respond.
Hold on,
Right?
hold on,
As opposed to him
on.
spurging out, so I'll respond to this. So,
No,
the
you.
studies that I've looked at that say this in the past did things like this. The bias that they're showing isn't a bias against white and black people. It's a bias against strange sounding
Great.
names.
I trust
what
that
they
you
would
have
do-
studies.
here we
Don't
go.
mean I'm
Here
lying.
we
I
go.
trust that you have
Here we
studies.
go. Like, get your affirmative action talking over people in there, right? Because you're oppressed, dude. Anyways, what they would do is it would
Always,
take
that
a
shit
black name-
reveals
It would
itself.
take a black name like this, like LaQuisha, and then the white name would be Sarah, right? But what if you?
Why are
took a
you
white
bringing
name-
it down to that
Please,
small
please,
thing? Stop it, please.
would
You're
you
wasting
shut
my
up?
time.
Would you
Hold
shut
on, hold
up
on.
and listen? Okay.
Why not?
So
Go
if you
ahead.
did
I love
the
you, Joe.
opposite side and you took a black sounding name like Jeremy and you took a white name like Bubba, who do you think they'd hire?
It's your
Jeremy.
show. You go ahead, bro. Yeah.
I asked you a question.
I'm not. Girl, you gonna make me participate?
He's asking you a question. I mean,
like you interrupt. when
Yes,
I'm
he's
trying to
awful. I
say
wanted a
something.
question. I was asking a question. Does he think it's occurring? He wants me to take me down this line. I don't want to participate. Give me the courtesy, and maybe I would go down your line.
If you
Do
don't
you
wanna
think it's
participate, why are you
happening now?
here?
Thank
Do
you,
you
William.
think it's happening now?
No, the studies you cite are not saying what you
Grr.
think they do.
We want to talk about studies. Go
I
ahead.
don't
You
think we
do
should
it.
be able to ask people their
Joe-
race on an application at
Joe,
all.
you've got
Yeah,
Joe,
listen.
you've got 5 in the back. I'm gonna let you finish your thought. You got 60 seconds, then I'm gonna put you in timeout.
No, I think I'm here to your benefit, man. I don't want to be a dick, man. I got a lot to say, man. I'll take my 5 minutes like a man. Fuck it.
All right. Somebody can buy you back up too. It's okay.
Yeah.
The truth is that we all know that the opposite is the case. You're right, Sarah, when you talk about
No.
HR not even meaning. We can see over and over again that the evidence
We don't all
is
know that,
these-
to be
please,
clear.
let me finish, Ryan. The evidence is
finally.
overwhelming that when it comes to like the best jobs in this country, so like any job of a Fortune 500 company, etc., these companies can't wait to tout how diverse they are. If there was an equality in application between a white person and a black person, they would jump all over themselves. There is a reason that Elizabeth Warren pretended to be an Indian instead of wanting to be a white person. There is a reason that Asians pretend to be black or Hispanic as opposed to Asian. Right? It's because there are benefit at these prestigious university and prestigious jobs. I can tell you right now, I won't because I'm sworn to secrecy of an area with very lucrative jobs that has to do with coding, right, Ryan? So maybe you'd be interested, where they're literally saying we can only promote women and people of color now. The new applicants we have to be women and people of color. We need to get more diverse. And this story is run up again and again and again. The way that these HR firms do things is they make sure that if you're listed as white, that there are reasons that your resume gets put to the bottom of the stack, etc. And everybody knows that this is the case. Ryan, I want you to tell me right now.
I don't-
Your prestigious
I don't think
company-
everybody knows this is the
there's a
case, but I don't think
prestigious-
this is the case.
Let me ask the question real quick. Your prestigious company will say Microsoft. There is a white
Sure.
person and a black person that have the exact same resume. Do you really think that they would prefer the white person over the black person?
I don't think Microsoft. No, I probably not.
They would prefer the black person because then they could tout diversity, which is why all of these companies talk about how
I don't
great
think
they
most of the
are
time.
at
To be
having
clear,
diverse-
since before we go off on more, to be clear, I don't think what's happening is there's two resumes. They got a white name and a black name. What they're looking at is in aggregate that people with more traditionally black names are less likely to get the callbacks than people with traditionally white names, regardless of what your
traditional white name?
justification. Regardless of what your justification is for that, regardless of what your issue is with that study, that is what the data suggests. Okay, and the whole point of DEI and all this crap that people hate so much on the right, these programs are not to make sure that less qualified black people are getting in. It's to make sure that because the problem is addressing that less qualified white people are getting into those positions, right? So there are actually.
Since I had 5 minutes in the back, I Googled some shit. I Googled whose names get preference.
I love you.
Every
Sal.
fucking result said that white people get preference. All right.
So
if
who
I could
gives a shit?
consider, yeah, I do. You know, and you got
What's
this
the
fucking.
white name?
You should be putting
Show me
so
an
much
Probably
example.
non-white people would give a
Oh,
shit,
blow me with the white name. Can I talk a
will
little
tell
bit
you
here?
You just
Right, be
did.
nice. Let me go down my little line here. You guys about the statues. You're right. The shit's in a certain time. It's time and place. All that shit's related. Back then, if you stuck it in someone's face, I think you would all agree that it's inappropriate. Nothing changes. It's all time related now. You guys, I'm sorry, would never know if something was offensive to a black motherfuckers. If you had to represent black people and say which statue need to be taken down, we'd never stand a shot. And we still the same way about some of this shit. And of course, it's a different era and we don't. But you guys have no idea about that shit. You act like it's in the past.
I don't care
Racism
what-
still exists and
I
it
don't-
never stopped.
I don't care what your subjective feelings. You don't know how I feel. It's an irrelevant argument, right? It's an
Very good.
argument
I'll ask you
people
that.
Don't have an argument make, right? Like for example,
Okay.
do you ever know what's offensive to
let me
white
go.
people? Do you know what's offensive to
Do
white
I
people?
know what's a
Yes.
yes, I absolutely do.
Wow, you're not
And when
white.
you
How
guys
would you
talk
ever
about
know?
it, I don't
Right.
because I got all white friends. And you guys complain. You guys tell me all the time about how you're discriminated against. And you know what I don't do? I don't say you bitch and moan. I don't belittle you. I don't do all that shit. I listen to your fucking problems and your arguments.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Well,
I'm
that's
one
what
of
I
your
know.
friends,
You
bro.
asked.
Oh, another 20 has been dropped to boots.
I know. That's that racist nonsense. I love this shit. You just ignorant and will pay to remain so.
Is it racist
True.
when we kick Ryan to the back all the time?
I don't know,
Or
but this
Doc?
is, and you will duck that or not see it, and that is the truth. Motherfucker, they
you,
will pay
Joe.
all night to keep my ass off of this shit when it come to this shit.
Maybe it's
Hey,
because you're
stay a
And I'm
victim,
right.
dude.
Right.
It's really
Accurate.
working for you. Stay a
right.
victim.
I mean,
I'll
you're
tell you
black.
To be
what,
you're
clear,
one
Daniel
word.
and his previous. To be clear,
I
be
think if we
infuriated.
pulled
hang on.
I'm going to be
I want to address because
infuriated. Real
in
quick.
Daniel's previous
Real quick.
donation, he
Real
said Joe
quick.
is race and victim baiting. Here's some white dominance
Real
for
quick.
you.
Lord of the Nerd says, name the elected officials that change parties and look up voting tabs for civil rights on Wiki. Ryan will be surprised. CRT is literally race communism.
Written by the same
Race
people who did
communism.
communism.
It's written by the same
CRT
people.
is
It's
so
all-
if you look up CRT, it's specifically the claim that race is not a biological concept but a legal one. Okay, so race
Yes,
was
and
literally
how has-
written into the law.
It's
Hang
a-
on, let me respond.
Yes,
Right.
sorry.
So it was written into the law that white people were allowed to do certain things, black people were not allowed to do certain things. And then what happened from there is that people were identified as either white or black and denied or allowed access to specific things based on that classification. So that's CRT in a nutshell. If you don't understand that, that's not my problem. I'm trying to explain it to you. If you don't understand it, it is everybody's problem, and you can blame people like Chris Rufo and Trump who have been banning it across the country for the past 10 years.
Jesus
Because
Christ,
about
it's a good
trash,
thing not to judge
And we
people
can
on their
fight
skin
against your
color.
dumbass philosophy.
So
Only
if you s-
Mr. Bill says, how does Abraham Lincoln / Dinkus feel about being referred to as a Democrat by these guys? Mr. Dinkus?
Think they're brain dead.
Yeah, shoot it out there, cracker, because apparently
Thank
that's
you,
fine.
Dinkus.
I'm pretty sure that's
You know,
not
there's
fine
a-
on Twitch, by the way. I'm not
Oh.
certain, but I don't
mean,
think that's fine on Twitch.
I do get soggy
Yeah.
when I'm
What
wet.
if it doesn't have the hard R?
Look, guys, look. Okay, I personally, every time I put in a job application, I check the box that says that I'm black, so I specifically don't get the job.
God.
That'll work. Yeah.
There's only one job where if you put on it, it helps you in the resume. There's only one, but I won't say it for TOS
Yeah.
purposes.
Is it
You'll
And
Democrat?
know.
K2 says, ask Joe, since black women said gingers are black now, do they get the N-word pass?
My God.
Actually, a whole new thing, isn't it? Like all the gingers are,
It's a meme.
Think
Yeah.
about it, Sarah. Switch the letters
don't know.
around, and what word can you make?
yes,
If
I
you've,
know.
if you've never been to the Redhead Forest, you would understand.
Vordum says, if you look up the definition of black fatigue, a picture of Joe pops up. And
Comment.
Blaster Bot says
Mean.
with the big 5, kick Joe Cool harder, not because of his race, but because he's constantly yelling and interrupting.
I think he was being
Um,
interrupted more than he was interrupting. But whatever.
no shot.
Cope.
No shot. That's true.
Cope.
Yeah. So that is a 50 on top of the 20. So that's 70 total. So if we want to bring Joe back, that's where we're sitting at is 70 total. Actually, probably no 60 now since it's been about 10 minutes. Daniel with the 5. Ryan doesn't understand an ironic response. Yeah, I sense the facetious, sarcastic asshole niche.
I mean, in which
in that
claim?
one.
Like, I mean,
And, it was in Daniel's. It was in
The white
Daniel's.
dominance thing.
This commentary.
Okay, so because he's being silly and glib, it means that he's not also making a racist joke.
That's what happens when you have a 6-inch thick skull.
He's saying that he is that skin color, and he paid to put somebody in the back.
Yeah, he's
Daniel
just,
McCoy's black.
No.
Ooh.
Never mind.
Never
Wasn't
mind.
there another 20 from Flo for Joe?
Rick and
Or did I
Effigy.
miss that?
Just real
Um,
quick,
He
Ryan,
was
if-
jokingly
Oh,
demonstrating
no,
quote
it
unquote white
wasn't
dominance,
another-
and we
Shut up,
can't call that racist.
Loser.
We can't say that's racist.
No.
That's a
Oh my
Listen,
God.
everyone's gonna pearl clutchly call that racist.
Yes,
Cringe.
right.
I
would
You're
just like to
pearl
say,
clutching, calling it real quick.
As
Ryan,
a full-blooded Cajun, I am part of the only legally recognized white minority.
okay,
I'm a
great.
better victim
Ryan,
than all of you.
Ryan, if
You
I
lost your
donate
language.
money,
Sorry, dude.
if I donate money and say kick off Sarah because yay patriarchy, is that misogyny? Or is it a joke?
I mean, you're playing with misogyny. Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, I think that's stupid. In fact, I've seen Sarah all the time, and women donate to my channel like, we're defeating patriarchy, or despite the fact I'm a woman, I'm donating for patriarchy. No one's being
Well, I mean,
misogynistic. It's a
Sarah.
joke.
I mean, no offense, Sarah. I love you, but you've got some internalized misogyny, no doubt.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
Yes, and you have.
Speaking of pearl clutching,
Oh, it's so cringe
I know,
to
dude.
address
Yeah,
real
he's
issues in
so
society. I
fucking
hate it when people
cringe,
do that.
dude.
I hate it when
Guys,
people
let's,
call out things that I don't feel comfortable addressing.
No, I think if
Define
you say that, you're fooling yourself.
if
Let's
you
do an
can't be
experiment.
Okay, well,
racist-
just, I know Sarah better than probably any of you, so
Ryan,
You
if
still
can't be
cringe. That doesn't change
racist-
anything.
If you can't be racist to white people, can you be misandrist against men?
misandrist specifically means.
Can you be sexist against
it's
men?
Okay, how about
referring to men.
sexist then?
I don't think there's a mechanism for women to be sexist against men in the United
Oh.
States, but I mean, like, you can
Uh,
be.
You
Ryan,
realize
I
there's
feel like-
systematic and
Ryan,
non-systematic?
Ryan, I feel like
Sexism and racism are distinct things, but
I feel
whatever.
like this hits at a problem that a lot of leftists do, where you're just using language in a way that absolutely nobody else does.
Yep.
Like, it,
Okay, but I've clarified
describe-
exactly what hang on. If people pretend to not understand the distinction I'm making, that's on them. Like, if I clarify specifically that I'm referring that you can be prejudiced against white people, and I say that's bad, and then I say, but when I talk about racism, I'm talking about a different thing, and people are like, oh, well, you can't be racist against white people, and they still pro clutch about it, then those people are acting in bad faith and they're gaslighting, okay?
Ryan,
Just
if
two
I
separate
say
things.
if I say that Rob is racist, but racist isn't even necessarily bad because my definition of racist is that you wear a hat. It's like that's not a good.
Okay, but no,
definition.
I'm not.
Like,
We're not talking about
that's the
some
point
bullshit
of
proprietary definition right now. We're talking about an
though.
academic
You
definition
are.
that everyone here understands. Okay,
Oh.
everyone here understands
No,
exactly
but
what I'm
it
talking about.
doesn't-
They just
it doesn't
disagree with
support-
the actual use of it.
It
People
doesn't
just don't
support
like the use of
real
it.
usage.
They all understand what it means. They all
Not
understand. They
real
just don't
life.
want to use it. That's it.
It's
not
Because
it
we
doesn't
exist
support,
in a
like,
college
describable
sport
reality. The
group does
majority of
not
the
make
people
it
don't
something
describe it.
colloquial that the rest of the country considers.
You
Just
can't
saying,
change the
Ryan.
definition and then
Everyone here knows exactly what I meant. They're just pretending not to, and that's fine.
Yeah, and
there's a
Rob knew what I
reason.
meant when I said he was racist for wearing the
Right.
hat. He knew
There's
what
a
I meant.
reason that we push back on this because what happens is people like you use this term to justify actual real racism against white people. And so, for example, the example I gave.
Like what?
when
Like
you
what?
Okay, well, I'll explain. You are going to say that racism under your definition is something like power versus prejudice against people based on their race.
Sort of.
And then you'll say that blacks can't be racist because they don't have power. Right?
So what I would say is that black people in the United States as a class, black people don't have the capacity to enforce racist laws over white people.
And so what happens is I already gave the example of what if a black person has the power of a knife and they plunge it into a white person's heart for their skin color, and you're like, that's not racism.
You can. I said that can still be a hate crime.
This
It
is
can
a
still be
half
prejudice.
understanding essentially of critical race theory here. This idea. Can I just jump in really quick? I can clarify this. Look, I know everyone's going to roll their eyes at what I'm saying, but this is where this comes from. In critical race theory, there are three forms of racism. There's interpersonal racism, systemic racism, institutional racism. Anyone can be interpersonally racist. This ridiculous idea where people who half read shit from college get this idea that certain groups of people can't be racist is because there are certain forms of racism, i.e. institutional or systemic, that have certain requirements that it takes to be populationally or what kind of reigns of power you have. And that's where that's come from. It was always just a misunderstanding of it.
Well, that makes
Okay,
way more
real
sense.
So yeah, I mostly agree with that, but also I'm specifically saying over and over. Hang on, I'm specifically saying over and over that that you can be prejudiced. Anyone can be prejudiced against
That's
anybody,
just
right?
interpersonal
And which is just a shorter word for that interpersonal racism. Okay, that's what I'm referring to. Prejudice.
It's still racism.
Yeah.
Racism.
Yeah,
It's
racism.
not, but not in the same. It's not in the same way that I'm referring to. It's not the way I'm using racism.
What you are
Otherwise,
every time you say racism.
This is what you all have finally officially led me to.
Good work, Sarah.
And I don't do that. I don't crack one unless like I know that we've kind of like exhausted the transgender topic on this channel, and now we're moving into the racist one. So congratulations. Here we go. Buckle up,
man.
Buttercup. It's about
that's
to go.
white fragility, by the way.
Let me.
that's a racist joke.
That
Yeah,
was
points
really.
out.
You just made
So-
you just made a
so-
racist joke.
Really
Yes.
racist
So
joke.
I made a joke
Yes.
about racism, actually.
No, you made a
Oh.
racist
But I
joke.
meant it also.
Oh, you.
It is true that Sarah's reluctance, her frustration with this topic specifically, and her exhaustion with it, that's actually that is actually white fragility.
No,
like,
the
you might not like it,
exhaustion
you might be
is-
triggered by it, you might think it's a meme, and you might think it doesn't matter. But I'm being
The
real when I say that, and I'm not
exhaustion
accusing Sarah of being a bad person. I like Sarah.
Ryan, you're the
The-
only one that sounds triggered, my guy.
Yeah, and the
Go post
exhaustion. The
Okay, well, I'm talking over 8 different people who are all disagreeing with me, so like it's
The
gonna
You
happen.
just
Right?
did something wrong.
The exhaustion is
No, you think I'm saying something
people
wrong.
that want to redefine language in order for their proprietary reasons. Even if we take the definitions that you just gave of institutional racism, right, and that's somehow different, are you telling me that it's impossible for an
Somehow.
institution to be comprised of black people for black people's benefit to be racist against other colors? You telling me
Obviously,
that
it's not impossible. Obviously, it's not impossible.
Okay, so in the United States, for example, if there is a town that is 90% black with a black mayor and with black police and black legislator, and they have policies that are racist against white, is that institutional racism against white people?
That would be name one town like that.
Okay, what does it matter? You're saying that
It doesn't exist though, right? It doesn't exist in America. In fact, what you'll find instead is places with majority black populations that have white mayors and largely white police forces.
Let's be fair, right? America is becoming that place, right?
Holy
Like
fuck.
we are going to have
Can
places
I
like that.
finish my point? Ryan said, and I quote, "You cannot be racist if you're black in the United States." Now he just said, yes, of course, hypothetically you
It's
can.
logically possible, but there's no mechanism right now that
So
could
then
that is
you
enacting
were-
it or that
you
could
were
enact it.
wrong when you said that you can't be racist. Even the definition of institutional racism.
Okay,
in the
theoretically,
United
someday
States-
someone might be able to. Yeah. Sure.
And it does happen.
Ryan,
There's
sure
certainly
it does.
towns that are
Please.
overwhelmingly black.
There are places you can go
Right.
that if you are white in that neighborhood, they will literally grab you up and say, "What are you doing here, boy?"
Lord of the Nerd says, I've read CRT foundational work. Unlike Ryan, CRT's central claim is liberalism will not work because white liberals will not help blacks unless it's to whites' benefit. Real recognizes real. Ryan, go ahead, Ryan.
So that's definitely not the central claim of CRT. That is a claim in CRT. There is the idea that liberalism has issues because of these things, and it is argued that that white liberals are more likely to help black people if it's to their benefit, and there is probably something to that. I mean, for all the anti-racism that I try to engage in, I mean, I do it on platforms where I benefit from being the center of attention, right? Where I benefit from arguing with people about these topics, and I absolutely get a personal benefit from it. So, I mean, let's be real. Real recognize real, right?
I think it's right to
Give
just
up your
help any
spot.
people,
Give
any
up your
person.
spot.
Period.
Bring Joe up.
It's right to help anyone.
I'm not the one who pushed him off.
Okay, but give up your spot for him. Go ahead, Sarah. Ryan, even though he's one of the guests, because he's white, he wants to give up his spot for a black man. Because he's
Why are we?
benefiting right now.
What does that mean?
Wait, you
How does that
yourself
follow
are
from what I said at
benefiting
all?
from
How does that
what-
follow from what I said at all?
Because you said that as a white person, yes, I am benefiting from being on these spaces in ways that black people are discriminated against. So now you have the opportunity to do something
So
real.
what I actually said was
real
what I
action.
actually said was that I benefit from performing anti-racism.
Okay, then couldn't you actually benefit?
What does that have to do with what does that have to do with bringing Joe?
Well, couldn't you actually do something to stop performing anti-racism and allow a black person to come on and talk in your stead?
I could.
Being anti-racist
But
means
that
being
would take away your
subservient in some
benefit,
way.
wouldn't it?
Anti-racism doesn't mean I do. And again, it's actually demonstrating that it doesn't benefit. It would benefit me less to do that, right? And I'm not going to do it because it would benefit me less, and I don't want to like lose my spot on the panel just like to bring Joe back up.
Oh,
Right.
he's superior.
You don't want to.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I thought.
I mean, that's so. I'm proving CRT correct in that instance, right?
So why? But like again,
Are you a liberal?
then why wouldn't you try to strive to do
I mean, I'm a
better?
little bit left liberal, but
Why wouldn't you strive to do better? So you're acknowledging that just on your personal preference that you're engaging in something that benefits you when you could be helping out a black person to get that same sort of benefit by being on this
I mean,
panel?
you get this is all just like pro clutching gaslighting.
No,
I'm
what
not
it
wanting to
is
engage.
it proves that people like you only
doesn't
do
prove
this
shit.
for your
It's not
benefit.
proving anything.
It does. It proves that you won't put your money where your mouth is. You don't believe in
I
any
mean,
of
I
this
don't have it for the record. I don't have any money to put forth to
Well,
get
it
Joe back
was-
for $70 or whatever.
it was sort
I
of
can't
an
afford that right
expression.
now.
It
Maybe
was an
soon.
expression.
All right, in the near future. Keep donating. Make sure you subscribe and like and subscribe to the
There
Radical
he
Coder
goes.
channel and get memberships and stuff.
Surprised that
Yeah,
subscribe
Because
to
I
Joe
can do this
Cole.
more.
Send your super chats to Joe Cole instead of Ryan. He's an evil
Yeah,
white
you should
guy
also
that's
sub
using
Joe. I mean, Joe
anti-racism
Cool has
to
like
benefit
100,000
himself.
subscribers, so
Yeah,
Joe
he's
Cool
got a
already has a
very
much bigger audience than me. To
channel.
be clear,
Great, but send more money to him. Right?
Yeah.
people can send money to Joe Cool and me. I agree.
No.
Do
Don't
you?
worry about benefiting the white that's just performative for his own benefit. Don't do that. Right?
I see white though.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with making money while like expressing my true beliefs in a way that other people might identify as purely performative. I think they are performative in like that I'm performing them, but it doesn't mean they're inauthentic.
Can a government that's comprised of non-black people be racist against white people?
Back to you,
Two have an
Ron.
X.
Finish your
Yeah,
thought.
the skin color of the people advocating the policy would be irrelevant. Like you just said, that white people in liberalism could, for some of their own benefit, enact policies or be quote anti-racist. So if a group of white, like let's say hypothetically, Ryan, a bunch of people further to the left of you get elected to like the state senate somewhere, and they're all white, but they're like, you know what, we're going to say that whites have to pay double taxes for white people because we don't like their skin color. Is that racist against white people, even though it's white people instituting that policy?
Good question. Potentially.
Okay, well then any affirmative action policy that we could point to, even though it's predominantly white people in Congress, would still be racist against white people. It's still institutional
I don't think affirmative action
bias.
actually works like that. So no,
Okay,
I'm not going to agree with that.
Okay, if there is a policy that preferences giving money or something to people based on skin color, or giving medication based on skin color, anything like that, those would be policies, right? That would be racist against white people.
What you're pointing to is that a lot of policies exist now that are addressing that are not color neutral because history wasn't color neutral, right? That's all. That's all you're
Things
pointing.
can be racial, but not racist.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. Like if you
Okay,
say,
well.
Okay, but that's your own like reductive misunderstanding
not
of
ra-
how
it's
When
racism.
you're
not-
a black and white
No,
world,
that's
then
not my
I
problem.
can't help you.
it's not reductive. Like here's the problem, right? Like
is, it's
anyone
reductive.
could make justification for why they could have policies to benefit one race over another. People could make all sorts of claims. For example, white
Yeah, and
people
historically
50
they did. They like
Well, see,
saying the
what
black
we're
people were
saying
subhuman.
is
Now
the
they're-
category
you're-
exists. Everything that uses it is racist.
But you're cheering to do it now, right? You're saying, yes, it's okay for it to happen now. So, for example, Joe Biden at one point was giving loans out to farmers and giving more money to people that were black. So 100 years from now, my great-great-grandkids, when I try to start a farm and can't make a go of it, says, great-great-grandfather Rob lost his farm because the government refused to give him money, even though he qualified it purely because of his skin color. Are they now owed some sort of affirmative action policy? Because I got screwed over?
White farmers still got money though. What are you talking about?
They got less.
Could
They
women,
got money like after.
Well,
It was like the first 2 weeks
could-
or whatever of it was going to like primarily black farmers, but they still
could
got like same
women
amount of money.
now? Could women now say because we didn't have the right to vote long before that maybe we're owed something, or
Like a double vote.
like we weren't allowed in particular job fields, so therefore we've been held back? Could we? Could we do
DEI
that
benefits white
too?
women primarily.
But could we?
Bruh.
What I'm
That's funny.
saying is, could
Wow.
could we do something bigger
It's
about
true.
that?
Civil
Could I-
rights in general has benefited white women predominantly.
Yes.
So yeah,
So?
sure.
But again,
Wow.
but the point is, like, you can see quickly how far it goes down the rabbit hole here. What
How
we're
far does
doing
it,
is,
it's not an outrageous thing to say.
Let me finish, right? You can see what happens because we decide that we're going to look at, quote, historical injustices to benefit people today. And ultimately it leads to this. Let's assume two people were born in almost the exact
When you
same
say, hang on, when you say quote, are you implying there were not these historical injustices? Like, what do you mean, quote, historical injustices? Can you elaborate on that?
There were historical injustices to people of all sorts.
Why do you put the quotes around it then?
Because I felt like it. So, for example, how come you don't give a shit about white people that were Irish that were overwhelmingly indentured servants? Where's their reparations? Where's their affirmative action?
Not black.
I mean, if we still saw disproportionate outcomes from like in those groups, then I would say it might be worth addressing. But I don't think I don't really see that.
Are you aware? Have you looked into it? People of Irish descent, do they have equal outcomes? Why isn't there a big outcry to make sure that that's the case? And if it is the case, then what's the explanation?
I know is that we have very clear discrepancies and disparities in Black health outcomes, Black school outcomes, school to prison pipeline. We have worse. They also get worse, longer sentences for the same crimes. They're more likely to get beaten up if they get pulled over. They're more likely, obviously, more likely to get killed if they get pulled over.
More likely to murder people.
All of these
and speaking
and more likely to be in scenarios where they get killed by other Black people. Yes, they're more likely to live in areas where they're killed by other Black people.
No,
yes,
they're more likely to murder people.